Welcome to FRCMedia. I'm Keith Tebow. Thank you for joining us today. The school year is going to be starting in the city of Fall River coming up on September 1st. And there's some announcements in terms of the school department and its negotiations with the Teachers Union, the Board of Educators Association. I'm pleased to be joined now by Keith Michon. He is the president of the Board of Educators Association. Keith, how are you? Thank you for joining me.
Good. How you doing? Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time as we talk about the new contract that has been negotiated between the school department and the Educators Association, at least to some of the educators, some of the people that you represent in terms of the FREA. Let's talk about teachers. There is a new 3-year contract that was approved, I believe, about a month or so ago. For both sides. Talk a little bit about, there's been a lot of talk concerning teacher compensation, on how it's been difficult for the school district here in Fall River to, negotiate and find new teachers that are willing to come into the district, mainly because of the salary structure. How has that been addressed under this new contract?
So in this new contract, I think we take a step in the right direction. We are a little behind some of the neighboring communities as far as teacher pay is concerned, and obviously that causes a problem when you're trying to recruit teachers and retain our teachers. We get a lot of new teachers and we train them up, and they end up going to other districts that pay more. So we took a step in the right direction with this contract.
So, what is specifically being done? Let me see if I can help you along with this. Currently, there are steps in terms of teachers, step 1 through step 12 in terms of teachers. When they come in, they by and large start with in step 1, and then the longer they've been here, as long as they continue to perform well, they can go all the way up to a step 12, which is the highest rate for teachers. Is that correct?
Yes, in Fall River, it's 12 steps. Some of the other districts, there might be 10 steps or 14 steps, but most districts are on a step scale.
So, what is happening in terms of the contract, in terms of year 1, in terms of the steps? How is that being reformed?
So in year one, what's going to happen is so we take last year's salary schedule, we're going to eliminate the first step, and then we're adding another top step. So that'll go from 12 steps to 11 steps, but then we add that top step at a 3% increase, and that brings us back to 12 steps. So then we renumber those steps 1 through 12, and that'll be an increase for everybody. We're also adding additional time so that each school will increase their time by 15 minutes next year, so that there's an increase in pay for that as well.
So, going back to the base salary, so teachers who will be new to the district will have a higher base salary in 2021, 2022 as they would have last year, correct? So, in effect, that's current step 2, which was we had last year, is going to be the new step 1, correct?
Exactly. Yep. So our new teachers will come in on last year's step two.
Right. And then what does it mean in terms of current teachers, in terms of their steps as they move forward in this first year?
So when the steps get renumbered, essentially it's like they're skipping a step. So it's a pretty big increase for those teachers. Except for the top step teachers would also increase a step. So everybody is increasing a step next year.
So, in terms of, I can just give an example, something we actually talked about on the phone before the interview. If in last school year, if a teacher was on step 6, this year they were going to be to step 7, but that step 7 is effectively going to be the rate of last year's step 8. That makes sense, right? So in effect, you're right. They're sort of skipping a step based on the old salary schedule and going into the new. But other than adding that step 12, that's going to be raised 3% over the current step 12. There's no other percentage increase in year 1, correct? It's just the increase they're getting on their improved step.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this being a 3-year contract, what are the pay benefits for years 2 and years 3?
All right, so in year 2 and 3, it's a 2% increase for steps 1 to 11, and a 2.5% increase for step 12. That first year, we closed that gap a lot for our teachers in step 1 to 11, but our top step teachers still, um, there's still a gap between us and the other districts. So we increased that step a little bit more in years 2 and 3.
All right. So, in terms of any other elements to the contract, you talked about how there's been some benefits added because of the added time that the teachers are going to be spending in the classroom, 15 minutes, as you mentioned. Are there any other elements that are of note for the rank and file under the new agreement?
There's, I mean, there was so many things. I think there were probably about 50 changes to the contract that we made. Some of them small, some of them are big. We cleaned up some language. One of the big ones is that we have professional development throughout the year, and a lot of times our veteran teachers will lead that professional development, and it's never been clear before how that individual gets paid for leading that professional development. So we added some language in the contract that would allow those veteran teachers, those experienced teachers, to get compensated for sharing their expertise with the rest of the faculty. We also have some language to give nurses a little extra prep time. The nurses, especially this past year, they really put in, more hours than ever before, and we wanted to acknowledge the great work that they've done, and get them a little preparation time in their week, because they're with students from before school starts till after school ends, tending to their needs. So they need a little time to do paperwork and things like that. We added a lead teacher, some language around lead teacher positions, and cleaned up that language. That was existing language that we already had, but it's we're really trying to build our capacity through teacher leaders. And a lot of times our principals and our vice principals are exceptional leaders, but there's a lot of leadership in the classroom as well. So we want to foster that leadership in the schools.
Hmm. So as we move forward to the new school year, which begins on September 1st for the Fall River Public Schools, obviously COVID is still a major issue. As of right now, as we're recording this, there are still no specific mandates from the state in terms of what will be taking place in terms of mask mandates or vaccination mandates and the like. What are you hearing from your rank and file in terms of some of their concerns as they head back to the classroom under the current circumstances?
Right. Yeah. Everybody's anxious to hear what the plan will be. Um, so I was out today, and I'm seeing more and more masks out in public, in the grocery store, and in different markets. And I'd say I surveyed the members last week, and I'd say about 50% thought that there should be a mask mandate for all staff and students, and then 25% felt like unvaccinated people should be masked, and then there's another 25% that feel like it should be a individual choice. So, it's just like in society, our membership varies, but I do see a lot more masks in public now, and I see the numbers going up a little bit in different areas. I think in Fall River we're about 50% vaccinated, which is below the state. So we just got to do the right thing and keep everybody safe.
Now, in terms of if there were some sort of mandate, um, if it comes down from the state or from the city, does that trigger any other type of negotiations that need to be made with the union in terms of any of those mandates?
Last year we had a really, we covered everything in an MOA, from distance learning to mask wearing to mask breaks. Um, we have quarantine language in our contract already that would just be existing. Uh, I'm unclear as to how much we would have to bargain that as far as a mandate for masks.
Mm. So definitely a lot going on. But also on the other side of things, are many of your members still looking forward to getting back to some sort of normalcy this year with students full time in the classroom? Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. The membership, last year was a very difficult year. The remote learning was a challenge, but in a lot of ways, we learned a lot about technology and different things that we can do. I think most of the teachers want their students right in front of them. They want to be in small groups. They want to be working together. They want to be doing, station rotation, moving around the room, hands-on activities, group work. That's what we want to get back to. It's a difficult thing with the pandemic because number one, we want to keep everyone safe. So we got to find that balance to where we can do those hands-on activities, that group work, while keeping everybody safe. It's a challenge.
All right, Keith Michon, the president of the Florida Educators Association. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great school year, and hopefully we can catch up and get some other views from the Florida Educators Association out to our audience too. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great day.